in 1913, it was only meant to be implemented on the wealthiest people, the wealthiest 1 or 2%.
Well, that's because
but that all changed after World War II.
After World War,
right. Then they put it on the middle class.
After World War II.
And that's why it needs to go. It needs to go. Man.
Actually,
it's going to be hard to get.
Just prior to World War II and then after, you had the social programs by Roosevelt, and they had to be paid for. And that's how they paid for it. They paid for it with tax dollars.
Right.
Well, when you think about it,
right.
If you just have a consumption tax, your taxes revenues will probably rise because now you're going to have all the illegal money that's going through the states.
Right.
It's not being taxed. Now, these people still, a drug addict, drug dealer, whoever you are, you still have
everybody's going to pay taxes. Everybody who consumes will pay taxes. And
exactly.
There's the fair tax out there. There's only one presidential candidate that's actually pushing the fair tax hard, and that's Huckabee. I think Cruz might go along with it, but I can't say for sure. I can't read him that good, but he's the only one who really is calling for getting rid of the income tax. Out of that whole group, 15 or 19 or whatever there is. Who cares? There's so many of them. But there's one guy at least calling for the fair tax. So that's always encouraging. But we know he's not going to go anywhere. Huckabee. So it's encouraging, but it's not encouraging.
Now, what's the fair tax? If I could ask, just explain to the audience.
It's a consumption tax. It's called fair tax. You can go to it, fairtax.com. It's a pretty big movement. It's been going on since '95, and it has been presented in Congress quite a few times. And what fair tax is, like we're talking, it's a consumption tax, and and nobody pays taxes until they reach the poverty level of like $20,000. In other words, there's a rebate check sent to everybody, and taxes only start occurring after you spend $20,000. That way the poor aren't taxed, progressively for anything. In fact, if you make less than $20,000, you won't be taxed, period. But everybody that spends, start spending over $20,000, everybody gets the rebate check, which they figure like 20% tax. So everybody will be getting that on $20,000, that's $4,000. Everybody will get the first $4,000 they pay in taxes back. But after that, everything you buy will be taxed. You're just going to get a rebate check. And so if you spend $100,000 a year, you'll be spending $20,000 in taxes. But most of that will be already value added onto the product, and you won't notice it as much because there's a lot of tax already on the product through the withholding taxes, the income taxes, everything else. This would take place of it, but it's. Basically, if you go to fairtax.com, you can read more about it.
Okay.
Neil Bortz did a book on it back in early 2000. He was a radio broadcaster, national syndicated radio broadcast guy, and he pushed for it big. A lot of other people push it. There's still a lot of people pushing for the fair tax. They haven't gave up hope, but it's a hard thing to battle because, that's their sacred cow, the Republicans and the Democrats. They like to play with it. My turn to play with it. I'm going to put all these provisions in. And, the only ones to get the biggest provisions or the biggest lawyers or the rich guys. They find loopholes and take their money here and there. And they don't really pay any taxes.
Yeah.
Like Warren Buffett says, hey, my secretary pays more taxes than I do. I have these laws written for me. So where do we go from there,
Well,
he's a good billionaire.
Yeah.
Yeah, right. He's a good billionaire. You don't pay any taxes.
Actually, he does, and he's he does pay taxes, and he is.
That's what he said. He don't really pay. He don't pay as much taxes as thing because there's too many loopholes.
He's one. He and Bill and Melinda Gates and a bunch of other billionaires. Bloomberg.
Yeah.
They have signed an agreement that they're going to give away the bulk of their money to charities when they pass. They're going to leave enough for their survivors. But they said Bill Gates and Warren Buffett both said Warren Buffett has grown children.
Yeah, it
He said,
depends
I
on
want
what
them.
type of charities too. I mean, they're backing, like Bill Gates is backing Common Core and control over people, and Big Brother government. If you call that a charity, I don't,
Well, there are many other
there's a lot of
charities that he and his
there's a
wife
lot
give
of
to.
bad
I mean,
charities
he's
out there.
also.
So and if that's how if they would actually just say, okay, we're going to open it up and just give it to the poor. It would be a lot better
Well,
than
but they're
running
very
these
big.
charities. They're going to say we're going to control the Congress, we're going to control the Senate, we're going to control the UN, and we're going to buy everybody out and use it as power tool. Then that's not really.
No,
it's a lot of different things that you don't realize.
They're very big in World AIDS.
What they should do is take their money and
countries.
It's not really helping America. I like to see it helping America.
Well, I like to see them everybody donate the money to pay off the deficit.
Yeah, exactly. Let's just do that. Put their money towards the deficit. Let's see them. That's a good start. And get rid of a lot of these programs that they can help create that cost the taxpayers money. They sound the game. We're really good. But then if you look deeper into it, that's who you think they are.
Well, what do you think of Mr. Trump?
He's not going to get the nomination. He's not part of the establishment.
No,
the establishment. He's he's entertaining. He's entertaining.
Yeah.
And he's not politically correct. I like that.
Yeah.
I'm so tired of the political correctness crowd out there.
Well, that's why he's doing as well as.
Gets up there. Yeah, that's why he's doing good. Because people want to hear somebody with like a conviction, not saying, "Oh, what do I have to say and how do I have to say it? Oh, how do I have to approach that one?" And they have a little earpiece with little politically correct guys that they hire to make sure that everything's proper with everybody out there. Because you got to be PC nowadays, and Trump isn't, which is kind of cool.
Yeah,
it's nice, but he's not going to get the nomination.
Yeah.
Although my stepson thinks he is. He says he's a lot of people do. A lot of people drink the Trump Kool-Aid, and it's
listen, exactly.
He says if he gets it, he says you got to vote for him. I says, look, I'm so sure he's not going to get it because I wouldn't vote for Trump, but I'm so sure he's not going to get it. If he does get it, I will vote for him.
Well, the whole
he's
thing.
Not going to get the Republican nomination. I mean, first off, I would think he'd had a chance if he was polling 70% or 80% before the elections. But he's only polling, 35%.
Well, that's only because look at all the candidates that are running.
And the establishment is not going to let, they're going to take their candidates, pull them together and say, you be the vice president, you be president. Well, we only need 51% to beat Trump. And they'll have it, Trump might get 40% by the end, but that's the tops.
No.
There's no way he's going to get more than that.
Well, one of the...
So, I mean, it's kind of a moot talk.
Yeah, well, and nobody ever thought he would get as far as he did. So that's always good to see that he did get as far as he did, and he was able to.
He's got a lot of money and a lot of color tones, so that's why he did. Mm-hmm. And a lot of notoriety. So he's definitely there because of that, and it's good to see. But I'm realistic. That's about as he'll probably last till about March, and let's see, his numbers are down low, and they'll be falling from there. But he'll probably go to the convention. He just
we'll have to see what
he'll never have 50%. He'll never have 50% as a number.
Well, the big test will be if he stays after the Iowa and New Hampshire primaries. The Iowa caucus and New Hampshire primary. See what he pulls. And he'll make a decision after that, I think.
What he said the other day was, he says, I'm a realist. If my numbers are not there, I'm not going to waste my money and stay in the race.
Well, you know why he said that also? Because he doesn't like to lose. If he pulls out, he can say, I gave it a shot. It didn't work out. I'm going out on top. My numbers are still decent enough for me to stay in the race, but it doesn't look like it's going to happen. I'm going to go back to work.
Yeah.
And this way,
yeah, one of those scenarios are going to happen. I mean, you
he
guys
doesn't
are
lose
on board
face.
with me on this one. There's no way he's going to. A lot of places I call on different radio shows, like whether it be a regular radio, blog talk radio, or other thing. A lot of people drink the Trump Kool-Aid and think he's actually going to win a nomination. I'm like, he's never going to get 50% of the establishment vote in the Republican Party to pull that off. Never.
The only way he could do it is if you pull somebody like Rubio and tells him to run with him as vice president, which he'll never do.
No, he wouldn't do that. He ain't going to do that kind of game, and I don't think Rubio would do it.
No,
Rubio's part of the establishment.
Rubio is, first of all...
In fact, Rubio might even get the nomination.
Rubio is young enough...
Don't like Bush.
He's young enough and he
has
enough of a future ahead of him as a Republican not to want to throw it away on Donald Trump,
Right. Oh, I know. He is, and there's a chance he might even get the nomination. But I think he's just gearing up for next time because he's only 44.
Yeah,
you know what I mean. But you never know. I mean, he could. I mean,
well, you know what they say? They say that
old Obama was about the same age, and Junior, he's a young senator.
Well, you see, I'm glad you brought that up.
Took him on, man.
I'm glad you brought that up because
Rubio.
The Republicans were bashing Obama from the beginning, saying he was a community organizer, he had no experience, blah, blah, blah. Okay? One term in the Senate, didn't even finish. Well, the bottom line is Rubio, one term in the Senate, young guy, he's been answering...
Right, he's very similar.
Exactly,
yeah.
And they don't want to fall prey to that, Yeah. So, but, give it 4 more years. Rubio, when he's another 4 more years, he'll be in the Senate for 10 years. Well, he'll be in the Senate for about at least 8 years or 9 years.
Yeah.
So he'll have the experience. He'll be able to maybe bring some bills forward. Talk up his
storm. I'm not a big Rubio fan.
I'm not either. I'm just saying, as far as the Republican Party is concerned.
He's too establishment for me. I want to see somebody get up there and like we were talking about, getting rid of the IRS or getting rid of, something major. Although, he says he's for the flat tax on the IRS, just across the board. I've heard one of his aides speak at one of our meetings, but I'm just not really, hey, he might get it. I'm not saying he won't.
Yeah, listen,
but I'm not a big Rubio fan. He's too much establishment for me.
Well, I don't think anybody's going to get rid of the IRS. I think you have a better chance of a flat tax than you do getting rid of the IRS.
Well, if you get rid of the flat tax.
There's a lot of people. There's a lot of people who want rid of it. It's just, I understand what you're saying.
No, but I think a flat tax would really downsize the IRS anyway.
Yeah, it would.
It
would make it a lot easier on things, but I don't even see that happening because that Rand Paul, he's running in one of his campaign ads back in early last month was him taking a chainsaw through.
Yes, I saw that. Yeah,
book, a duplicate, and it's over 8. It's like as high as a bookshelf. It's 8,000 pages. Or 80,000 pages. So, it's written for the rich. And it's just, there's so many loopholes and so many deductions. And, it's crazy what they do.
No matter what you say.
And we call that government 80,000 pages of tax code? It's ridiculous.
Well, no matter what you say about reforming taxes, the rich are always going to walk away,
The rich are going to be,
exactly.
The rich are going to be rich. I mean,
right. And they're not going to let, even if Bernie Sanders gets elected, they'll still keep the money and they ain't going to change much. That's why I say I don't look to D.C. for the answers. I look to the states.
Well, but Bernie is saying what a lot of people want to hear also,
Yeah.
But unfortunately, but the American people will never elect a socialist, even though he's running, as a Democratic candidate. He's a self-proclaimed socialist.
Yeah.
And they'll never elect a socialist.
But the whole Democratic Party is socialist, so it's different. I mean, at least he's saying what he is, you know. I mean,
well, certainly the progressive
yeah.
end of the Democratic Party, all the way on the left, their leanings are certainly towards socialism, and there's a lot to be said for socialism. Really.
And not only that, the whole DC is socialism. I mean, all the stuff that corporate socialism.